Hi guys, it's Miss Catalano. So one thing about Google Classroom and this whole online teaching that's really good for me is that I could see where you guys are struggling, and I saw that a couple of you were struggling on how to find the roots of an equation in Vertex form. So I thought the next best thing was to create a video. I would go live, but honestly, Miss Catalano is not looking her best today, so I'm going to make a video for you guys. So the 5 steps to finding the roots of an equation in vertex form. The first step is to set the equation equal to 0. Second is isolating the numbers in the parentheses. Third is taking the square root of both sides. Fourth is splitting off the solution into 2 equations. And fifth is solving for x. So this is actually a slide from the PowerPoint that I made you guys for today. So make sure you check that out. I really wish I brought water because now I'm really thirsty. Okay, so for the first problem, I have y is equal to 2 times x plus 3 squared minus 32. So our first step is to set the equation equal to 0. So I'm going to write 2 times x plus 3 squared minus 32 equals 0. Just like that. My second step is to isolate the numbers in the parentheses. The numbers that are in the parentheses are the x and the positive 3. So I have to get rid of this negative 32 as in k value, and 2, that's my a value. To get rid of this negative 32 and to move it over to this side, I have to do the opposite of the operation. So if it's minus 32, to move it over to the other side, I have to add 32 to both sides. I also wish I picked a different marker. So your equation becomes 2 times, oh Lord, x plus 3 squared. The 32 and the negative 32, they cancel out. So that is equal to 0 plus 32 is 32. Okay, I didn't isolate my numbers inside the parentheses because I still have this 2 in front. So, to get the 2 by itself, since it's being multiplied to the parentheses, I have to, oh God, divide everything by 2. That cancels out the 2's on this side, and you're left with x plus 3 squared equals 32 divided by 2 is 16. Now I have everything outside of the parentheses besides the squared gone. The a value was divided to the other side. The k value was added to the other side. All right, so first and second step done. My third step is to take the square root on both sides of the equation. So that means you take the square root of this side and the square root of this side. When I take the square root of something being squared, it's like what we did here, subtracting and then adding. It cancels it out. So the square root sign and the square sign cancel each other out, and you're left with x plus 3. Then this will be equal to whatever the square root of 16 is. Step 3 is done. Step 4 is to split off the solution, so whatever the equation is equal to, into a positive and negative number. That means we need to find the square root of 16. I hope you know there is more than one square root of 16. The square root of 16 is positive 4. So that's one part of the equation. X plus 3 is equal to positive 4. Square root of 16 is also equal to negative 4. So I created 2 equations based off this square root of 16. One where the solution is positive and one where the solution is negative. My last step is to solve for x, or to get x by itself. To get x by itself, well, x plus 3 is equal to 4. What number plus 3 equals 4? You all should know that. Or if you don't, subtract 3 on both sides. X equals 1. Same thing with this one. Subtract 3 on both sides. Negative 4 minus 3. X equals negative 7. Remember, your roots are where your parabola crosses the x-axis. It's usually at 2 spots. That's the best looking parabola you're going to get out of me. So you should have 2 x equals, because these are 2 roots. These are 2 numbers or 2 places where your parabola intersects the x-axis. So -7 and +1 are my roots. A lot of you got this problem right. Tossing this to the floor because I have no room on my desk. But something like this one, I saw you guys struggle with too. So I'm going to go over how to do this one as soon as I grab another marker, because that blue marker was driving me insane and I just can't deal with that. So, okay. We're going to take a little break here while Miss Catalano tries to hold her phone and open a marker at the same time. I wish you guys could see this, because this is really just like a comedy show right here. Okay, so first step into solving an equation in vertex form. Set the equation equal to 0. So even though it's y equals, this will now be -3 times x minus 4. I guess it's this whiteboard. Squared plus 15 equals 0. That's a horrible 0. It's fine. We'll deal with it. Okay? Second step is to isolate the number in the parentheses. The numbers in the parentheses are the x minus 4 squared. So I need to get rid of this positive 15, and I need to get rid of this -3. So always do what has to deal with subtraction and addition first. So this is a positive 15. To move it over to the other side, I need to subtract 15 from both sides. This becomes -3 times x minus 4 squared. The -15 and the positive 15 cancel out. And I'm left with -15 on my right side. 0 minus 15 is -15. So I move the k value over. Now I have to move this a value over. The -3 is being multiplied to the x minus 4 squared. So I have to divide to get the x minus 4 squared by itself. Divide by -3 on both sides. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So what I'm left with on the left is x minus 4 squared is equal to -15 divided by -3 is 5. All right, my third step is to take the square root of both sides of the equation. So take the square root of this and take the square root of this. Remember, taking the square root of something being squared cancels out the square root sign and the squared sign. So this is just x minus 4. Now I have to take the square root of 5 and, ooh, you can tell I'm bad at this. Split off the solution into a positive and a negative number. But can I take the square root of 5? What number times itself gives you 5? Nothing. So instead of just saying, oh, no solution, I can't solve this problem, I don't know how to solve this problem, there's still such things as positive square roots and negative square roots. So you would split off, I think this is too close, I'm erasing it. You would split off the square root of 5 into a positive square root of 5, and you leave it just like that, still under the radical symbol. And x minus 4 equals the negative square root of 5. Just like that. So it's equal to the positive square root of 5 and the negative square root of 5. We don't know what the square root of 5 is, and we're not allowed to use a calculator, so just leave it as it is. Now I want to move this 4 to the other side, so I get the x by itself. So if this is subtracting 4, we need to add 4. Now I'm left with x on the left. And do we know how to add the square root of 5 and positive 4? No, we don't. What we do is we leave the whole number in front, 4, and the radical afterwards. So plus the square root of 5. That is one of my roots. X equals 4 plus the square root of 5. Now let's work on this equation. X minus 4 equals negative square root of 5. Same thing. Add 4 to both sides. I'm left with x equals on the left. You leave the bigger number, that whole number, in front, positive 4, and you leave the radical behind that 4. So x equals 4 minus the square root of 5. These are my 2 roots. Last thing I want to go over. Can I take the negative square root of a number? No, you cannot. If you have an equation that's equal to the negative square root of a number, this would give you no solution or no real roots. There are no 2 numbers, when you multiply them together, that are the same, that will give you negative 16. A positive 4 and a positive 4 give you a positive 16. A negative 4 and a negative 4 give you a positive 16. There are no 2 numbers that are the same that will give you negative 16. Therefore, no real roots in that situation. If you have any questions at all, revisit the problems that you struggled with on the form that I assigned you today. And on Friday, I'm doing a live stream. So on Friday, I want you to ask me these questions again so that way you'll be able to understand it in the end. All right, guys. Miss Catalano, signing off.